Welcome to the Leadership in Law podcast with host Marilyn Jenkins. Cut through the noise, get actionable insights and inspiring stories delivered straight to your ears. Your ultimate podcast for navigating the ever-changing world of law firm ownership. In each episode, we dive deep into the critical topics that matter most to you, from unlocking explosive growth to building a thriving team. We connect you with successful firm leaders and industry experts who share their proven strategies and hard-won wisdom. So, whether you're a seasoned leader or just starting your journey as a law firm owner, the Leadership in Law podcast is here to equip you with the knowledge and tools you need to build a successful and fulfilling legal practice.
Welcome to another episode of the Leadership in Law podcast. I'm your host, Marilyn Jenkins. Please join me in welcoming my guest, Gabriela Smith, to the show today. Gabriela is an entrepreneur and attorney who founded GNS Law in 2014, a boutique law firm serving family offices, business owners, and investment funds. Originally from Argentina, she earned her political science degree and Juris Doctorate, both summa cum laude, and founded her Texas-based firm when her children were toddlers. Gabriela is the creator of the company X-Ray and hosts the Exit Ed podcast, interviewing founders about business exits. She turns founders into multi-millionaires. She has extensive board experience, including serving on International Leadership of Texas Board of Directors, where she led the construction committee for their 30-plus charter school system and leadership roles in various legal associations. She's known for strategic legal counsel in complex deals across technology and energy sectors, and is a dynamic international speaker presenting in both English and Spanish. Gabriela partners with her husband Tim in multiple ventures, including GNS Law, an angel syndicate, and an M&A advisory business, while raising 2 teenagers and 2 miniature schnauzers. I'm excited to have you here, Gabriela. Welcome.
Thank you, Marilyn. So good to be here with you today.
All right, excellent. I'm excited about hearing about your journey. So can you tell us a bit about your leadership journey, how you got to where you are and chose your field of practice?
Right. I mean, it takes a lot of work, dedication, and passion, I think, to reach a place where you not only, have a level of success, personally, financially, but also love your work. One of the issues with our profession is most lawyers hate what they do and feel boxed into a boring process, which by and large, depending on what you do, you could be stuck in a very boring place. But really, for us, it's always been working with passion, with really pouring our heart into what we do. So I think that's the key.
Fantastic. And how did you get so from Argentina to the US, you work with international businesses and families that are in different countries, and the business span multiple countries?
Correct. So I was born in Argentina, and then I spent most of my teenage years actually lived in Bolivia. And that was after my parents split, and there was the whole situation. We landed in Bolivia, where my mom's side of the family was at the time. And then in 2001, I had the opportunity to move to the US, and I did. And I met my husband, and then we got married very young and very happy, still happily married. I think this year is our 24th year.
Wow.
And so, yeah, I mean, I think part of me is part of, I'm not saying proving yourself, because I'm never not trying to prove anything to anybody, possibly to myself. But once you come to a country where you didn't grow up and you're learning from scratch, like you're learning the cultural norms, the nuances, the language, all of that stuff, it really does put you in a position where you just want to achieve more. And I think that's been a big driver for me. And just having fun. I mean, the US is the country, if anywhere in the world, is where you can really make your dreams, come true.
Mhm.
And if you value that enough and you have the discipline to do it, I think you can do it. So that's really what we're living. I think I can say I'm probably living the American dream, a little bit cliche, but I think it's pretty good.
It certainly sounds like it. Absolutely. So you knew you wanted to be an attorney, and you kind of got into law. And what made you really want to focus on international leadership and helping business owners become multimillionaires?
Right. So that's two separate questions, I think.
Okay.
So developing the international side of what we do came natural to me
Of course.
because I, being from Argentina, having lived in an emerging market like Bolivia for a few years, and getting to see very contrasting cultures like between Argentina and Bolivia, and then coming to the US. Now you're not in an emerging market. You're in actually, the first world, the top economy, the top, even from the economic, from the philosophical. I mean, we develop in the US so many of the new ideas from business, from so many different perspectives. You really are at the top. We found that American businesses needed a lawyer who understood the other side of the world. And
Mhm.
so for me, having done my upper education, my graduate and college education in the US, it gave me that US side of being married to an American, your American boy, California person. It gave me an into the culture that was very valuable actually in my professional life. So that allowed me to feel very comfortable moving in an international economic system and moving between countries. So for me, if my clients told me, hey, I'm gonna invest money in in Ecuador, Africa, some third world country, some part in Asia, I'm like, okay, well, that's the emerging market. Like cultural things are different, the economy moves different, and you gotta get a sense as to how that side of that part of the world moves, and that came very natural to me. Same if I had a foreign, what we call a foreign founder or a foreign company coming in here, they bring their culture with them. And I've been really good at, soft landing them into what is it like to do business in the US. So the
Mhm.
international came just really, really. You'll find these funny, maybe, but having started my career at a larger US firm, I don't
Mhm.
think that was actually valued, because I actually got a comment once that said, "Oh, English is your second language. We're concerned about you," and which is total nonsense.
Exactly.
It's actually another associate that told me that, and I'm like, "What am I doing here? Why am I in a place where they don't value my cultural background, my my language background?" Which I think prompted me even more to go on my own and hang my own shingle, as they say,
Of
and
course.
think of ways of how can I just do what I want to do and I'm passionate about, and use my entire persona, my bilingual, my skin color, whatever it is, and use 100% of that in an area where it would be valued. And so the international business became really good, really a good part. And then your second, I think that we talked about, we turn founders into multimillionaires, which is something that we do, right? So from doing so much of this international work, on the business side, eventually our clients were like, well, we're selling our company, we're
Mhm.
doing
Okay.
this. And so we started doing M&A. And then, we became lawyers that really, work with founders and entrepreneurs who scale a business owners. And then one day they sell a company, they have a closing, and the next day they have 15, 20, 30, 50, $60 million in their account. It changes their whole life.
Right.
So we started focusing a lot on those founders. We know them very well. Been working with them for 11 years now at GNS Law. And so now we're really focusing on that, maintaining our international side, because a large portion of our founders are still international. We get to work with them and have a lot of fun with, helping these people make those huge transitions from regular business owner to multi-millionaire. So that's really fun, and we just keep it spicy like that. We keep it fun.
Nice. Now, when you're working with a company, and I see that you do, you work with an angel syndicate to the M&A, you're from start from idea literally to exit, right?
Yes. So yeah, we do, absolutely, and that's part of what we're trying to do at my firm. And I was sharing a little bit with you is, while we do, look for that exit and the clients that are trying to exit, really the work starts, much, much earlier.
Correct.
Ideally, you should be talking to your M&A lawyer really at least 5 years before you're ready to sell. So we do start, like, we have examples of clients that have, speaking of the international, we have examples of clients that have come to us like in 2017, 2018, where would they just were just now starting in the US market. And then they came to us, we helped them scale, the legal systems, the contracts, the processes, all this stuff in the US, and then they sold. So we have beautiful scenarios and cases where we've actually helped them sell from scale from day one, forming the LLC, forming their corporation, doing their basic papers. And I love to see actually once, the deals that we end up doing where we actually help the client from day one. I
Hmm.
love to see our paperwork get approved by the buyer side, right? Because there are so many things that can go wrong in a deal. And for
Hmm.
some of the clients, we've done restructurings in the middle, 2, 3 years before the sale. We say, well, let's put the assets in different places. Let's change these things. Let's restructure the employees. Let's get these papers. All of that stuff ends up in somebody's due diligence, data room when they
Yeah.
sell. And, it's usually going to be a fifth year associate, at a top 20 law firm in the country. I just love when my documents are getting tested by the buyers, and I love to see that they're working.
Nice.
That they like, yeah, this is right. We've done some pretty complex restructurings of entire companies, and I love it when you get the approve check mark from the big law firms. They're not easy. They're actually
No.
tough. They're pretty tough. Yeah.
That's incredible. So you're so in the if I was starting a business in say Argentina, Panama, whatever, and I wanted to expand to the U.S. market, that's something that you could help me do, and then we can prepare for M&A. So
That's
that's something
right.
that's doing really well overseas, and you can help me cross border it and bring it in and structure correctly so that now I'm set for an M&A.
Correct. Yeah. So typically, I mean, so we get, say, company out of, and I can think of so many. I mean, so many. Like, let's say, hypothetically, right? A company out of Spain that is a manufacturing company, very successful in Spain, and they have a special technology, and they say, we want to start our affiliate or our subsidiary in the US. We want to sell it to the US market.
Okay.
My type of company would typically come to us and we'll look at what they have in Spain and we'll look at what they want to have here. We go through the planning. We work obviously with the CPAs to find the most optimal, tax structure. And then we help them from, the entity formation to hiring the first employees. We've had clients that, oh no, we don't need a lawyer to hire until like we send them our guideline. It's called Welcome to GNS Law, and we show them a blueprint for running your business in the US. So
Okay.
these are the checkpoints that you should be looking at, and this is when you call me. So we actually have a ton of prepackaged information that we don't charge. We just want them to have it, want them to have our information, and then come back to us. So with that type of client, we would typically onboard them and again form their legal entities, help them hire people, teach them. We love to teach our
Hmm.
clients because we want them to understand. Obviously, we don't need them to be lawyers. We're there for that. But we do, I am huge on making sure our clients understand this is why you have this indemnification clause. Or
Right.
if you don't want it, this is what could happen. And we're not fatalists like, oh my God, you need to have this. Ultimately, as a business owner myself, as an investor myself, my job is really to tell my clients, the education piece, which is best case scenario, but worst case scenario. But you can walk the line on whichever side you want.
Hmm.
I'm not ever gonna say no, you're crazy. Clients understand; they're pretty smart, so they know.
I love that you give them the outline. So instead of them coming to a mystery of this is what I want and I'm not sure, even before retaining your firm, you're like, here's an outline of what has to happen.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
So
And honestly, again, it's part of giving people value,
yeah.
right? I don't want to be a taker. The legal relationships is very much I take your fee, I take your money, I give you a document, I take a lot of your money. So, and I think that's one of the wrong things, the things that culturally, we're known for that as a cool, in the movies, how lawyers are portrayed, and then people
Sure.
come that people come actually looking for services, with some expectation that they've seen in the movie. And so part of us giving them information is education and a little bit of rewiring, what is truly a law firm. I'm actually about to put I just drafted a blog on what is the lawyer's role. Like,
Okay.
really, what is it? Because people will come to us, like, even you can see some of the way people approach you,
Hmm.
and especially with the international clients, the approach is a very hierarchical and
Yes.
respectful. I love that you're, but at the end of the day, let's meet at the human level.
Yeah.
That's where I want to meet with my clients. It's like, I'm a human, you're a human. Sure, I'm an attorney. I got a paper that says license, whatever, but I'm a human. And so I like to come at that level with, at the firm. We all like to
Mhm.
come at the human level with our clients, which ultimately is what leads to the stronger relationship. So yeah,
I agree. I find that that's one of the things with my clients when I'm helping them do, different things, add value, do videos, something like that. People do business they know, like, and trust, right? And a lot of people in the US, I don't know so much about overseas, but attorneys are it feels like you're unapproachable. And you
exactly.
want to be that. You want to be
Right.
someone they can talk to because you can
Yeah.
save them so much money and make them so much money.
Right. And that's a great point that you touch, right? Like, and one of the, I think, value systems that we use, and it sounds very self-serving, but I can show you it's almost like a scientific, like, it's really, I can do probably scientific data on this. So, I said, I'm about to draft a blog. What is the role of the attorney? The role of the attorney, obviously, except if you're litigation, it's too late, right? Like, the role of the attorney there is, yeah, save me, right? Like,
Yeah.
save. But the true role of the attorney really is planning and strategy, right? It is
Yes.
not to draft documents. It is not, especially with AI. Now you have AI, AI can draft documents.
Yeah.
But the true role of the attorney, at least how I think it's been evolving and it's going to continue to evolve, is planning and strategy.
Yes.
So clients say often, potential clients say, I'll call you when I need you. Honestly, you need me right now. Like, if you own a business, you need me, period.
Mm.
Because you are great at building a business. You're great at the idea, you land the idea, you have manufacturing solutions, you're great at selling, but you were not trained as a lawyer, right? And so you
And
do
especially
need,
entering a new market or going into
exactly,
the M&A. Yeah.
exactly. So you're not trained as a lawyer, and there's a lot of information that I have that you need to have. And
Yeah.
it doesn't relate to me drafting a paper or getting this contract ready or, these LI. It obviously we do all that,
Hmm.
but really there is a conversation that should be happening between you and your attorney that you're not happening. And then let's put that in money terms, right? The
Right.
less conversations that you have with your attorney about the key strategic points in your business, the more liability you're going to occur. I mean, I can almost tell you that is almost scientific. And I can't say,
Yeah.
here's the data. I probably have the data in my system. It's just, I probably need an AI sentient to go in and dig it up and bring it up. But we do see the clients that are more proactive, the ones that ask us to continuously audit their systems, to review their contracts before, especially big ones, right? Like little
The
contracts,
contracts, yeah.
talking about sizable companies here. We're talking
Right.
about sizable companies that don't have an internal attorney, right? I'm
Right.
talking about people who are actually doing commerce. I'm not talking about, restaurant business. I'm not talking
Right.
about that kind of thing. I'm talking about, like lower middle market and middle market, especially when they don't have an attorney, just to be clear. And so when you're active reactively to your legal issues, then you're going to leave money on the table. Like, you're leaving money on the table because you're bringing legal issues. It doesn't matter what, there's very few situations because people just generate legal problems constantly. But if you come to me and tell me, I am about to do this, let's get on the call, there's a few questions I'll ask you. Let's say if you're a service provider to another company, I will ask you, is that what service are you going to provide?
Hmm.
Is your client regulated? What does that mean? Is it a bank? Is it an insurance company? Is it a hospital? Or is there any other regulation that might apply to them and then trickle back to you because of how maybe the contract will be structured? And then
Right.
if you're pushing liabilities to you on a regulation, should you push back? And then we measure what's the business case for maybe assuming it or not assuming it. I hear me out. In that little combo, I said nothing about whether you can market your service, whether your service might be the best.
Hmm.
What I just told you is something that I guarantee you no founder, business owner, at that, revenue level would really think about. Is that business regulated and are they pushing any regulation liabilities on my business? That actually happens all the time.
I
Like,
can see it.
if you're a service provider to a Fortune 500 company, right?
Right.
Fortune 500 company is lawyered up to here. You're
Yes.
not. Number one, and you're not, if you don't have an in-house counsel, you're dead in the water. I mean, now you're negotiating with, top trained attorneys and their top big law firms behind those companies. And here you are a little bit naked going into a 2, 3, 4 million, $10 million contract. I don't know. So think about that. And I've seen so many people just, oh, no, I don't need it. I call the lawyer when I have a problem. No, I just showed you an example. You call me when you're about to do a big project. You
Mhm.
call me regularly, once or twice a year, and we talk about the trajectory of your business. What are you doing? What are you not doing? So see, this is what lawyers are for. They're
Mhm.
not, in my view, at least in the practice, in this contract commerce, transactional side. We're really more than drafting contracts. It just goes way, way beyond that.
Well, I absolutely agree with the strategy part. I do think that one of the things that people don't think about, especially in an older business, I have a contract. Everybody's on contract. But as tax law changes, as regulations change,
Right.
everything has to be revisited. I was chatting with someone the other day that have contracts that have been on the table for 17 years and never
Wow.
been revisited with some of their oldest clients. And
Oh my
now
God.
yeah. And so now they're like, okay, now we need to bring all those up, especially if you're thinking of an M&A. You've got to bring
Right.
everything because that's value or not, or value or liability to the buyer.
Absolutely. Since you bring the M&A, we actually created a program, and I think we're the only ones, the only M&A sell side firm that actually does it. We actually created the company X-ray, right?
Okay.
Because after a few deals where we saw where a client would come to us years in advance and say, "Hey, Gabby, I'm running this business. Here's my revenue, usually several $1 million. And I'm thinking about selling my company in about 3, 4, 5 years. I want you to review it." Literally, I've had clients say, "I want you to review my entire legal situation, all my contracts, my structures, and I want you to tell me if I'm doing things right."
Okay.
The clients that did that actually sold in pretty smooth M&A transactions where then in any M&A there's going to be some issue, right? And
Of course.
but the issues that have come up were minimal,
Mm.
minimal. Sometimes, and honestly, mostly they relate to tax. Oh, you didn't pay taxes in that state. That's more of a CPA thing than it is a legal thing.
Well, they can
But
be
those,
fixed. Yeah.
yeah, and then the terms of those deals actually tend to be more favorable to the sellers, because if you have a messy company, then the buyer will actually start retaining money, increasing reps and warranties. They will have tough earnouts. I'm going to pay you X millions, but you need to be earn them over the next 3 years with these insanely insane requirements and all these things. So the more the more money you invest in your legal and finance operations prior to the sale, the smoother your deal will be and the more money you'll take. We and
But
then and
that totally makes sense because they're going to charge you for the potential liability. It's no different than taking and retrofitting your kitchen,
yeah,
and it
and you're
increases the
talking
value of
millions.
your house.
You're talking
Yeah.
millions. And then and then we've seen the flip side. We've seen clients that have come to us at the moment of sale. They say, "Hey, help me sell my company." Okay, I got an LOI. So they give us the LOI. This is the first time we meet them. I got an
Okay.
LOI. You've been in business for 5 years. I know nothing about you. And then once we dig, it's the rats. The rats
Oh,
are right there. Now, the rats in your business, or you can call it your dead bodies, the buyer's going to look at that, right?
yeah.
And so, even from a buyer intuition perspective, the more rats that you have under the hood, the less confidence you're giving to your buyer. And think about this: put yourself in the buyer side for a minute. If you're a private equity firm about to dump, $20 million in this founder, and you open the hood and you're like, wow, it's rotten. It's good.
Yeah.
You still have the contracts. It looks beautiful, right? It looks beautiful from a financial maybe, but then you have, all kinds of legal rats hidden under the hood, that because you never talk to a lawyer or try to save money on these retainers or whatever, now you have these accumulation. So that actually we've seen buyers create, there's a sense of what's really going on. And then we've seen the lawyers getting tougher, because now they're like, okay, well, we asked them this information, they gave us crap, they don't have it or
Mhm.
it's invalid. Then we ask them for these other, and suddenly everybody starts getting on the paranoia. Like people will go to the worst case scenario. Is this company even good? So that little by little is diminishing your value because it's just a lot of business too. Is like, do I trust you?
Yeah.
So having those rats actually cost you a lot of money, and that's where we come in. We want to get rid of the rats. The tough part is, when a business owner is running their business and it's all good. It's all
Yeah.
good. I have no problems. I don't need a lawyer. I have no problems. Well, the question is, what are the hidden problems that you don't know? Do you want to find out about those problems with the buyer at the same time that the buyer is finding out?
Right.
Do you want
Well, I
to
mean,
find out before we get rid of them and then the buyer doesn't see them? And the way we
right.
get rid of them is redo your thing. We redo that contract. We renegotiate with that client. We reach out, we're about to terminate. We have a termination of employee process where it's not going to create, liabilities for retaliation or whatever situation. There's a lot of stuff, right? And so that's why we have this company extra, just to bring it back, as I diverted a little bit. That the company X-ray does exactly that, which is we do audits. We audit you. At least we want to see you 5 years before you want to sell. Then we do it again at 3 years, and then the year before. We keep adjusting. We leave
Mhm.
you beautiful. Buyer comes in, sees clean under the hood. If anything, maybe there's a little dust. We're just gonna put this thing, dust it off, and we're good.
Right.
So that
Well,
that's
I love that you do that 5, 3, and 1 years because the thing is that you come in with an LOI and you find out that your contract is a problem. You need to go get a new contract with every client you have. How many clients will you lose? If you started that 5 years before you
right.
exit, then you have time to replace those clients that maybe a new contract's a deal breaker for them. So I
Correct.
love that your company X-ray is unique to you guys and that you can find those hidden problems that will come up and help people
Yeah.
clean that up.
Yeah. And we in that the other funny thing is, yeah, we actually put the clients under pressure. If this
Okay.
is in a go get we give them a data room, we give them a document request, we mimic a sale because it will also will put them under pressure like the buyer will. Like when you start due
Okay.
diligence, it's not like, hey, go and take a vacation, come back to me in 6 months. No, in a week, buyer wants to see all your costs, all of the things that they want, like everything, And so I tell my clients, in a week, I want to see that, and you have no idea from a psychological perspective the value that is bringing. I had a client tell me, Gabby, I realized all my agreements and certain agreements were in writing, so I had to scan everything one by one.
Oh
And
my
I'm like,
gosh.
you're welcome, because you don't be scanning documents until 3 a.m. when you have, an LOI to buy your company for 40 million and time is of the essence. You don't want to have to worry about that. You need to be worried about talking to, the buyer, keeping them happy, keeping the conversation and anticipating their next questions, not
Right.
scanning documents.
Fantastic. Wow. It sounds like you definitely are the person to come to whenever you're even beginning to think about either starting work in the US or starting to think about selling in 5 years. I hadn't heard the 5 years. I had heard 3 years prior to M&A, but
Yeah.
5 years certainly gives you time to get everything in the row.
Yeah. Well, the reason though, Marilyn, is because when you get a due diligence request,
Mhm.
some might be 3 years, so looking 3 years back. Some may be 5 years, and some might be 7 years.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
And it depends on the law firm that is auditing or doing due diligence on behalf of the buyer.
Okay.
Okay. And I just want to throw a nugget here because, again, what clients and actually in our company X-ray, material, we tell our clients, here's the contrast that we see. You've been building your business for, let's say, 10 years.
Hmm.
You sweated for this business. You may have missed your kids' event. Like you're giving your life to this business. You know everything about your business. And then you get an LOI, and then the buyer brings their lawyer. At the level of like at the anywhere between 10 and like 75 to $100 million exit value, the lawyer appointed to your deal would probably be a mid-level, like a 29-year-old kid sitting in the 50th floor in New York, Dallas, LA, Palo Alto, whatever. Kids never run a business. Kid doesn't
Right.
know what, doesn't even have a kid. It doesn't, and the kid is asking you for some document like, give me the contract signed by the employee that left your company 3 years ago, and show proof that the employee turned in the computer. And you're literally going to lose your sleep over that, because at the end of the day, they hold the keys and
Yeah.
they have the ear to the buyer, to the business people on the buyer side. So again, an M&A transaction is just much more complex than, I'm going to sell my business, I need to get a lawyer, blah blah blah. It's an entire project. It can last months, and so getting ready really, really in a responsible way should be done much earlier.
And it's more than just a P&L. It's more than just getting your numbers in order. You need to have
Way beyond.
yeah.
It's
Yeah, it's more than having your QuickBooks set up.
everything comes together. I mean, again, I just want to invite any business owners listening, right? Like, put yourself on the side of the buyer. Like, think about it, the time you bought your first home.
Mhm.
You're like, what's in this house? I'm gonna get this house inspected. I'm gonna
Exactly.
call the plumber because there's something going on. This doesn't flush well, and maybe like a tiny thing. But when we're buying, we're picky, and we should be.
Yeah.
It's no different when, especially you got $50 million deal on the table. It should be picky, and they will be picky, and they will pick, and they will make you frustrated because they will pick on the things that you think don't matter. But this is why I'm here to tell you now, 5 years, 3 years, and 1 year before, they do matter, because it matters to them, it matters to you.
Mhm.
So I want you to do that extra. You need it. Like, you're gonna be in a much better position. And then, kind of funny but not funny, you won't end up divorced, and you won't, get, sick in the middle, or, not sleep, because we'll put you in a such a better position that
Mhm.
you're gonna go in with confidence. And if you do an extra, you actually have already pseudo done a due diligence. Like, we
Right.
are gonna put you under pressure. Like, we're going to show you, why don't you have these documents? What is this? These documents signed on one side is not signed on. What is this? Right? Why
I
don't you
love
have
it.
incomplete documents? What is this? What's your onboarding process? All kinds of stuff. All kinds of stuff.
I love that you have your finger on the pulse of international M&A and growth and moving over here. It just sounds like, especially with your company X-Ray, your company is one to definitely go to if you're looking to exit anytime soon, or even open over here and be prepared for that.
Absolutely. I
So,
would say that.
all right, fantastic. I love it. So I know that our listeners might want to reach out to you, connect with you. How's the best way to reach out to you?
Yeah. So we have a website, gnsLawPLLC.com. Anybody interested in working with us can certainly go into the contact form, fill out the form, and we have the team members will reach out to talk to us. And if you want to follow me on LinkedIn, we have Gabriela Smith. In my tagline is turning founders into multimillionaires. We do have a few Gabriela Smiths on LinkedIn, but not too many. And then
I'll
obviously
make sure that link is there.
yeah, so I think we need to talk about our podcast. It's also a great way not just to connect, but also hear from other founders. And we
Okay.
interview founders from all over the country and the world. We've had people from the US, we've had people from Spain, Central America. We're going to be interviewing different people who have sold their businesses here in the US. So that's
Oh,
a great way to get in touch with founders. And we're creating a community where they can talk to each other. But for now, we're launching we did our first episode. It's an intro to the podcast, and then our first founder interview will be posted here in a few days.
oh, fantastic. Well, awesome. We'll make sure that those URLs, including the link to your podcast, is including the show notes today. And Gabriela, this has been very exciting, very interesting chat. And I wish you great luck. And thank you so much for coming here.
Thank you, Marilyn. Same to you. I love the work you're doing, so keep going.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining me today for this episode. As we wrap up, I'd love for you to do two things. First, subscribe to this podcast so you don't miss an episode. And if you find value here, I'd love it if you would rate it and review it. That really does make a difference in helping other people to discover this podcast. Second, you can connect with me on LinkedIn to keep up with what I'm currently learning and thinking about. And if you're ready to take the next step with a digital strategist to help you grow your law firm, I'd be honored to help you. Just go to lawmarketingzone.com to book a call with me. Stay tuned for our next episode next week. Until then, as always, thanks for listening to Leadership in Law Podcast, and be sure to subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts so you don't miss the next episode.
Thanks Thanks for joining us on another episode of the Leadership in Law Podcast. Remember, you're not alone on this journey. There's a whole community of law firm owners out there facing similar challenges and striving for the same success. Head over to our website at lawmarketingzone.com. From there, connect with other listeners, access valuable resources, and stay up to date on the latest episodes. Don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review on your favorite podcast platform. Until next time, keep leading with vision and keep growing your firm.